Welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Pro podcast, and today we are speaking to another Mortgage Pro, which is going to be Laura Lyons. Say hello, Laura.
Hey everyone.
So Laura's been within Mortgage Pro for a few months now. She actually works with her husband as well. But Laura, before we get into who you are and talking us through your mortgage journey, what was the first job you had?
The first job that I had leaving university was actually working for Britannia Building Society in their contact centre. So helping people non-advised with their mortgage enquiries.
Right, okay. And when was that?
That was 2007. So actually, as Northern Rock went bump, I was on the phone to a client. I can still remember that day when the news got announced across the contact centre.
Yeah. And what was that like? Did you get made redundant, or were you?
No.
Did you go after there?
No, I changed direction and I went to pursue a career in compliance and quality monitoring. So I went across to a training company who delivered the Department for Work and Pensions, the Job Centre Plus programme, making sure that we're adhering to their contractual agreements, really.
Yep. And then when did you become a broker?
I became a broker in July 2018.
2018. So
Yes.
At the time of recording this, we are coming up to 2 years, aren't we, realistically?
Yeah.
But your husband's also a broker. So how long has Stephen been a broker?
Over 15 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you choose to join the craziness of mortgage brokering then?
So for
seen
me,
what Stephen goes through.
yeah. So for me, it was just the right step. I've done a full circle for my career. So I've done head of compliance roles and head of quality assurance roles. I've obviously worked at Britannia Building Society in their contact centre doing mortgages. And then my health took a serious deterioration a few years ago, and it opened our eyes as to realistically, what do we want to do? Do we want to continue down that path where I was commuting every day and it was having a significant impact on my health? Or did we want to build something for our family moving forward so that we could manage that health better, but still feel independent and provide for our family?
Yep. So you decided to become a broker, and you both work from home, right?
We've got an office as well.
Okay.
So we share the office and we share the home working. I'm primarily from home because it's easier for me, whereas Stephen primarily is office based. But we'll see clients wherever they want to be seen, really. So whether that's them coming to us at our office or going to them at their homes, a coffee shop, or over, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, telephone. So yeah, we try and make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, and I see one of the questions that people always ask about is, taking on an administrator or working with their husband or partner or wife or whatever. How do you find that? It's obviously you've been doing this 2 years now. So when did you go self-employed? Was it straight from that?
I went self-employed July 2018. Stephen was still employed at that moment in time. So Stephen didn't come self-employed and to join me until January last year. So January 2019.
And how's that period been working husband and wife duo?
It's been like a roller coaster. So I think the biggest challenge for Stephen was that he had to adapt from being employed and having to be sat at a desk or an office 9 till 5 to actually you're your own boss and you work your hours around you. So we still joke to this day that very first few weeks Stephen was getting up as though he was employed. He was putting his suit on. He was sitting at the desk at the laptop logged on, and he would not log off until like 5:30. And gradually he sort of realised the lifestyle that you can have when you're a self-employed broker and you're your own boss, really. So yeah, it has been quite a journey for us both. We've had tears, we've had smiles, we've had arguments, but it's all good. That's part of the journey.
Yeah, and I can imagine knowing Stephen as well. He probably just does exactly the same thing, gets up at the same time, but just doesn't put his suit on and sits there in his pants, right?
Yeah. Like now.
And it's definitely one of those things. You mentioned your health and everything else, and it's one of the big things that I'm admire so much about you and proud about you, and just the journey that you've kind of been on. And you see people moaning and complaining, and my best friend's in a wheelchair, and it's just people like yourself and my mate who had the accident 4 years ago and stuff like that, who inspire me to keep pushing on and not complain, because there's always someone who's got it harder and more difficult than you have, or I have. And I think it's just, massive congratulations to you for doing all the things that you have done since I've known you over the past 12 months, roughly.
Thanks, that means a lot. I mean, it's not easy. The journey that we've known each other coming up to 12 months now, and it's you've seen the good days, you've seen the bad days that I have, but you've got to take each day as it comes, or even each hour as it comes, and just keep fighting. But I've also realised that I also now know when I need to rest, and I have to rest without feeling guilty, because it's hard to not feel guilty, to think, well, actually, no, I do need to take a few hours off or a day off, just to do what my body needs me to do. So then I can come back fighting the next day. So yeah, that's just one of our challenges that we face, but we'll never give up, and we'll always keep fighting.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's self-employed has that. I still get it a little bit now, particularly as we are in quarantine and lockdown at the moment at the time of recording this. But it's one of those things where you always feel like you should be doing something. You're sitting on the sofa watching TV and you sort of feel guilty because there's things on the to-do list to do, and there's clients that need help and other people that need things to do. But you're exactly right. How did you, obviously you've got the medical side of it, which had an impact, but how did you come to the conclusion of saying and separating yourself from, I need this time for me, but I also need this time for the business, and making sure that works really well for you?
So what we decided to do was, sort of before Christmas, we were running two very separate businesses, Stephen and I. So I was managing my own caseload, Stephen was managing his own caseload. We were doing our own admin tasks. And it felt like it was putting a lot more pressure on us, both on a relationship perspective, but also from a health perspective. So what we decided to do was actually sit down, look at what our strengths and skill sets were, the bits that we enjoyed of the job and the bits that we hated of the job, and tried to bring those two separate businesses together as one, so that we were focusing on the bits that we do enjoy, the bits that we are good at. Yes, you're always going to have tasks that you don't particularly enjoy. You can't get rid of those, but really just come together as one business, to work together. And that's just meant that it's given us more freedom to say, actually, Laura, you need a rest, go and have a rest. I've got that, Stephen's got this now, he can manage it. And that's how we separated it, and that's how we've been working since Christmas, really.
Yeah, and is that plan going to continue going forward in terms of you taking on those roles, or are you both going to go back to advising full time, or how are you going to split things going forward to get the most amount of business and be most efficient?
Yeah, so through the academy that I've done with you, we've realised that I'm stronger at the social media marketing element of it, and the lead generation part. So because I'm still a relatively new broker, we've decided to take a bit of that pressure away. So I am still going to continue to advise, but I'm going to do it on a part-time basis to start with Stephen primarily being the main advisor. And that'll just mean that I can then go through that journey and that learning at the right pace for me. So there'll be no detriment to anybody from a compliance perspective, or from a customer perspective, from a business perspective. But then I can also focus on the social media side as well, to get that up and running for the new business.
Yeah. And you mentioned the social media side there. You know, how is it how did Stephen get his lead? Well, he said he was employed. So since he went self-employed and since you've become self-employed, how have you
Yeah.
generated your leads? Because I know that's one of the big things that everybody always asks about.
Yeah. So when I became a self-employed broker in July 2018, I had no case book, no back book, no existing clients. So I was fresh to the industry. So very much it has been from social media. And Stephen then came across in January, and whilst he's had, you know, some of his back book from being employed, primarily the majority of our clients are clients who go on to social media, go on to Google and search our names because they've either been recommended to us by friends and family members, or they've seen our reviews, they've seen our social media posts. I've even had a couple of people who have followed our social media platform on Facebook, and they've sat there behind the scenes, and it's taken them a number of months just to get the confidence up to actually send that first message to me. And their first message has literally been, you know, hi, I don't know if you can help me, but I have been following you for a number of months. You know, I'm really nervous about making that first contact with you. And that, and very much that's how we want to work and how we want to run our business. We want our clients to feel like they're part of our family and the friends. You know, we're not separate people. We're down to earth, just like them.
Yeah. And have you ever paid for leads, or have you just done it all organically through social media?
At the start, I did pay for leads, but more and more now we're just using social media organically, because of that consistency of posting and the content that we're posting out there. It's just meant that we're getting the inquiries through.
Yeah. And what would you say from the day when you say started social media, when would you say in your mind that it began to work?
It began to work realistically when I joined the academy last year. So right. I joined the end of July, beginning of August last year. And it just meant that what I was posting, even though I was consistently posting before that, it meant that what I was posting was it had more structure, if that's the right word. So, you know, following your guidance, the tips and advice and seeing what the other people within the academy were doing, just brought it all together. So started that, and I got my first lead from doing that within a matter of weeks. And then in September I had my biggest month. But back then I was working full time.
Yeah. So it's in the space of 6 weeks, realistically, you completely changed. I think that's just one thing for anybody listening to take away is anybody can post on social media. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're going to get an outcome from it. Anybody can win 100 meters, but anybody can run 100 meters, but it doesn't mean you're going to win the race. And it's just about understanding all the mechanics that go in behind it, because it is a little bit more complex than people lead it, you know, make believe it. But what would you say your most successful social media post has been that's really done well for the business?
Well for the business or well for publicity, because we've got two.
See, do both, because you know as well as I do is the fact of you're building you and Stephen, and people buy into you and Stephen. And because, as you said, that person messaged you, I've been watching you, I've been lurking in the wings, hiding behind trees. But naturally, if you see something that's really interesting, the first thing you go and do is check them out. So tell people the success that you had with your post, because I know which one it's going to be, but people who haven't seen that would have then found out what you do for a job, and the reach was amazing. Yeah,
so the post that we're talking about is on Pancake Day. We did a poll, and I created the poll and posted it mid-afternoon, I think it was, and it was just a simple question of, we're in Staffordshire, Stoke-on-Trent. We're a big oatcake area. Before moving to Stoke-on-Trent, I'd never heard of an oatcake. Do you prefer oatcakes or do you prefer pancakes. And basically what happened with that, I caused a bit of uproar because I'd used the wrong picture of an oat cake for starters.
You meant to say that was strategic.
So yeah, and then basically a person who owns an oat cake factory and shop round local to us, Alex Povey, he got hold of the post and he shared it on Povey's Oat Cakes, and he also shared it on a local group, and the reach just went phenomenal. I think we ended up with, in a matter of hours, reaching 20,000 people, with about, I can't remember the numbers now, about 7,000 engagements. It might be more than that. But yeah, it just went through the roof, really. And then we followed up with that. Alex invited us over to his factory and shop up the road. And we did a podcast with Alex, because he has a YouTube channel, talking about what an oat cake is.
Yeah. Did you get an opportunity to pitch the business or what you do? Or why you did that post? Or
we've got to be really careful from a compliance perspective. So obviously it wasn't going through a compliance sign-off for that purpose. You know, we weren't doing it for that reason. We were doing it from a Stephen and Laura Lyons perspective, not from a mortgage business perspective.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is people want to know about Stephen and Laura Lyons. You know, there's 1,000,001 mortgage brokers out there, but the fact of what you two do, the fact that you're in that local area, how else is it going to be possible to reach 20,000 people? That's meaning that if you go and stand in a football stadium, to give people context who don't know, you know, you've been reached by 20,000 people, but some of them perhaps were out getting their drink or their pasty. But out of that 20,000, 7,000 were sitting in the stands, going and listening to it and seeing it and actually going, we like it. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We know who they are now. And as long as you can keep posting after that, then did you get any followers across to your pages as a result of that? Did you see any increase in that?
We did, yeah. We got some followers. And I think it just meant that people saw a different side to us, really. So that was our most successful post that was non-mortgage related.
And it's done really well.
That was good.
No, that's good. And that's such a key thing. And it's one of those things that I really love, because it will have that knock-on impact and that snowball effect. You're now known in your local area. You know, you're affiliated with the oat cake people, and that will have that little knock-on effect. Everyone thinks that they need to just purely pitch for the mortgage all the time, but it's all about the long game. It's, you know, people aren't ready to get a mortgage now. They're ready when their rate ends and when the school kids aren't at school, or when they need to register for new schools, or whatever it's going to be. So a test brilliant from the pair of you, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, we had no idea that it would just take off like that. It was just, okay, today is our engagement. Let's jump on, right? So it's pancake day. What can we do for that? But I think that we do get most engagement from, and most reach from, the personal posts. We're not a faceless business. You know, how often do you scroll through Facebook, scroll through Instagram, and you just see a logo and there's nothing behind the scenes? It's just we call it a faceless company. That works for some companies, but for us, that's not how we want to be. We want to be that friendly. Yeah.
And as you do quite a lot of your business face to face as well, it will work perfectly to own your local space and your local area and be ahead of everybody else on the curve. So So since you went self-employed, what's been kind of your biggest challenge that you faced over that time, outside of obviously your health side of things?
Yeah, so my personal biggest challenge has been my confidence, I think. Actually, can I do this realistically? Because it's such a challenging, hard job to do. There's so many different elements to it that you don't learn overnight. So for me, my confidence obviously took a massive knock when I fell ill anyway. Every day I have to pick myself up and go, come on, we can do this today. Let's just get through today. Right, what have we learned today? right, put that in our bag of tricks, ready for tomorrow. So yeah, the confidence side has definitely been, I think, the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. How have you improved it?
To be quite frank, through the academy, through knowing you, because it's that supportive network. We made so many friends through the academy. It's not just that another mortgage broker or another business owner. We've all got the same goal of developing ourselves and our business within that group, and we never feel alone. So there's been days where I've messaged you, as you know, because I've had a head wobble, or I've just needed a sounding board, or I've needed to run something past you for an extra opinion, and that's just invaluable. And same with the other people within the academy. It's just, we all cheer each other on, and we all have bad days, but we don't focus on the bad days. We don't focus on the negatives. For every negative comment, there's probably 10 positives in that group, and that's the difference.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Really appreciate that. But as I say, you inspire me as much as by the sounds of it, I inspire you. So, and that wasn't planned. I didn't pre-prep Laura for any question and answer there for anybody listening. So what's been your biggest win and biggest achievement then since going self-employed, outside of the social media and convincing Stephen to be a broker in his pants?
We're just about to get our biggest win, I think, which is that we're going to launch our new AR company in a matter of weeks. We're just waiting for the FCA license to come through. Once that's live, that will be our biggest achievement. So at the moment, I'm holding on for that one.
So at the moment, you're trading almost as an RI underneath a company. And it's up to you whether you choose to share that element of it and who it is, etc. But now you're stepping away from kind of that RI environment, and you're going on your own 2 feet, and you're going to be trading under your own brand as an AR.
Yeah.
And what made you feel like that was going to be the right? 2 questions. What made you feel like now was the right time to kind of do that, and why did you want to step away from RI to AR?
Yeah.
And then second question is, how did you choose the network that you're going to be going with? And you can share I'm not going to push you to share names or anything at all like that, entirely up to you.
Okay, so it's been months in planning, because the process for going AR is quite a lengthy process anyway, as anybody who's been through it will know. So for us, the difference between being an AR and an RI is that we own our own business. We can build something for our family and our future. It is us where the responsibility lies. So we have full control and autonomy over what we do and what that business looks like, from the marketing side, the social media side, whereas an RI doesn't necessarily give you that, because you're working underneath another brand. Mm-hmm. In regards to networks, we sat and met with a lot of the networks that are out there, and it basically is what suits you, what's your vision for your business, and what are you wanting from a network. And that's what's got to be the deciding factor. I don't believe that it comes down to finances or money or commission splits or anything like that. It's what do you want from a network, and what feel do you get from the network. The network that we've chosen, obviously we've been going through some challenging times over the last however many weeks, but the support that we've had from them has been amazing. We also spoke to people who were underneath that network as well, and for real life, they've got nothing in it. They can tell us how it is.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that as well before we made our decision. So several meetings, several conversations with other people that are part of that network as an AR already. And that's how we came to that conclusion.
Yeah, and it's the best way to do it. You've got to listen to the voice of others, but you've got to listen to your own intuition, your own gut instinct, and equally you've got to do your own research. And that is the big thing for anyone listening who's thinking about it. An RI is great if you want, depending on who you're with, because I know your background. Depending on who you're with, they can give you the support, the guidance, the systems, the processes, but you're trading underneath somebody else's brand. They'll give you the marketing material and their support. Whereas when you become an AR, you've got the added responsibility of being now registered with the FCA as an AR. You've got the branding, the lead generation, the marketing, everything is going in. And it's almost, how much do you want to, what elements of the job, exactly as you said right at the beginning with Stephen, what elements of the job do you want to be focusing on, and how do you ultimately want to build your future out? And you've done it the right way, without a doubt.
And I think that there's no right or wrong. Not one network or one RI or AR suits everybody.
Yep.
It's literally understanding what you personally want and making that decision from there, because the world would be a boring place if one shoe fit everybody, really, wouldn't it? So,
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's just a very personal decision, and my advice to anybody would be, don't let the financials sway you, because that's not the be all and end all. It really isn't. It's doing what's right for you and your business.
So many people just follow the numbers or the percentage, and I think that's the third consideration, really, in my opinion. As you say, what's your future look like? Who's going to help you achieve that future, and what elements of the job you can get rid of?
Yeah.
And how much support are you going to get? Because lots of them promise it and don't give it.
Yeah.
Lots of them don't read the social media guidance, or, joining a network, you want to read the social media guidance. You want to speak to the compliance officer. You want to really do your due diligence to make sure that you're going to get all you need going forward.
Yeah.
So what's next then? Now, assuming we're in 12 months time and you've joined your AR and your brand is going, and what's it look like in 12 months for you guys? Are you going massive and taking on advisors or admins, or are you going small, lean, lifestyle? Where are you going?
So the plan is to grow the business. Whether that's going to be delayed because of the current climate, who knows? But the plan is that by Christmas we would have at least one more advisor as a self-employed basis.
Yep.
We're going to be very careful, though, to grow at the rate that we want to grow. We don't want to put the business at any risk, but we don't want to lose control of the brand either. So it very much would be, if the advisor is right for us and we're right for the advisor, that's how we're going to approach it. Perfect. More than anything. But yeah, our plan is that our leads are going to be organic, so it's going to be heavily driven from social media, which is what I'd already been doing anyway. Very few paid leads, if any. We have got an introducer with an estate agent, which is working well, and we will look to continue to do that because it's mutually beneficial. But primarily, grow. Once we've got those leads coming in organically, that's when we'll be in a position to say, okay, let's look at, can we find the right advisor to take the next step?
Yeah, perfect. And for any employee, for any self-employed advisor, exactly as you say, culture fit, values fit, massively important to build for the future. So since going self-employed then, or transitioning from your previous compliance background into being an advisor, what would you say your biggest lesson has been that would help others?
Perseverance, I think. Perseverance. And it's that mentality to get up and fight every day. Yes, you're always going to have a bad day, but don't dwell on it, because as soon as that negativity sets in, that's where you're hitting the danger point then. So my biggest lesson is surround yourself with like-minded, positive people, because they're going to pull you through those dark times, those challenging times, and there will be challenging times. And listen to what other people are doing. So it doesn't mean that if something's worked for one person, it's going to work for you. But you can learn from that and take that forward. I think as well, the other thing that I've learned is, don't copy posts. and paste as your own, because again, you that doesn't work because it's not your content. Because I see a lot of advisors doing that, and also don't use the boost button. Had to get that one in there.
Yeah, that's a running inside academy joke. That is, because I basically say that if anybody presses the boost button, I'm going to slap them. Learn how to use the back end of Facebook and run. I know that Johnny's going to be listening to this. Laughing.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, the perseverance, and yeah, I think the thing you said there, which is really key, which I just want to emphasize on, is it's much better to learn from the mistakes of others rather than trying to make the same mistakes yourself. Yeah. I did that for 10 years from 2006 to 2015. And the big game changer for me since 2016 is exactly the lesson that you said there, is just being around other people who've, to a degree, been there, done it, and got the Oracle t-shirt.
Yeah, I think as well, the other big thing that we're focusing on since Christmas is our process as well. So our process was quite clunky, and maybe not as consistent as what it could be. So just taking time out to refine that process, see what it looks like. I've actually got it on our wall here, the work that we've been doing, just to make it more streamlined, more consistent, so that we're getting ready for future growth, to bring in another advisor so that they know what process that they have to follow. I think as well, it makes it really clear to a client what process is being followed, so you're getting less resistance back in regards to documentation or fees. So yeah, I think looking back, I wish that really we were this time last year, and I was sort of 12 months into my broker journey, whereas I'm realistically 2 years into my broker journey, but the biggest learning has happened over the last 12 months.
Yeah, amazing. And what would be you mentioned one there, but what would be your one big piece of advice for any broker, as Stephen did, going from employed to self-employed, someone starting out as a sole trader, or even thinking about the stage where you guys are at now, where you've got an office and perhaps recruiting and things like that? What's your golden nugget for people to take away?
You've got two elements to the job when you go self-employed. You've got business owner, and you've got doing the day-to-day work. So my biggest advice is that supporting yourself in the right community for that advice, because I honestly didn't know how to do accounts. I didn't know what I needed to track or not track. The MI side of things, I didn't know what to do. So while Stephen had the advantage that he understood how to advise and how to be an advisor, he didn't know the business side of it. He didn't know the marketing side, and that's where I've stepped in to guide him through that side of things. So yeah, it's not just as straightforward as leaving employed on day one and just carrying on the way life to be, as as a self-employed broker. I'll admit that I kept a big stack of receipts for our accounts because I didn't know what to do with them, and our accounts went in sort of a couple of weeks before the deadline of our first self-assessment, because I just didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know what a good accountant looks like. I didn't know whether I even needed an accountant. I didn't know what I could claim for or not claim for. And because I didn't know them numbers, I didn't know whether the business had made a profit or a loss. So it's almost burying your head in the sand. Whereas now, moving forward, I know exactly where our business is, what we're doing week on week. And that's very much what you need to be doing.
Yeah. How did you learn that stuff?
Through the academy.
I didn't actually know you were going to say that. I just was intrigued from that side of it.
No, primarily it's all come from people within the academy. As daft as it might sound, that's how we've got our spreadsheets, our email templates that we're refining, our processes, you know, everything is feeding in through there, through discussion on a daily basis within the community.
Yeah, it's to kind of give anyone an idea. Obviously, you guys know that I talk about the academy on the side of this, and I haven't done these purposes of the podcast to pitch the academy or anything like that. It's really to hear from other advisors who I've seen a transformation in, and have been on a journey. And I think the reason why Mortgage Pro exists, number one, was because in July 18 of 2018, so 19th of July 2018, I felt lonely. And going to the London networking event was like going to the old school boys club. And I thought, this can't be a way. So social media just started a Facebook group that's now 1,300. But then also, I know in my own business journey, you're all sitting there now as mortgage advisors. We do 15 hours worth of mortgage CPD. We do 15 hours of protection CPD. But actually, what CPD do we do to learn marketing, business, accounts, finances, cash flow, MI, you know, and that's really what it's there to do, as well as the mindset and confidence stuff you mentioned. So it's I never learned any of that stuff. Luckily, my dad's always been self-employed since, you know, as long as I can remember. So I had that advantage of, Dad, how do I do my accounts? I don't want to go self-employed. What do I do? So I had that advantage. But and who tells you that whenever your family and friends are employed? No one does. And that's the business, the academy focuses on the business side and the marketing side more so. Let your network deal with all your compliance and all that malarkey. It's
such a hard job, isn't it? And you know, that's where, well, I know I keep banging on about the academy, and that's because I'm a big advocate of the academy, because of what it's done for me and Stephen. You know, there might be other things out there that work for other people, but what I have seen as well is people will join the academy and don't interact or engage with the academy, and then they don't necessarily get anything out of it. You've got to be willing to, you're not going to hand it to them on a plate. They've got to put the work and the effort in and engage and build those relationships. It's like any type of networking. You've got to build those relationships to get out what you want to get out of it.
Yep, without a doubt. You get out what you put in at the end of the day. It's, without a doubt. And it is funny because, you know, specialising in self-employed mortgages since 2016, I went to all the networking events where I could find other business owners to do their mortgages. But no matter how much I spoke to my mentors, and still speak to my mentors, it's always a case of, I don't run a mortgage brokerage, so I can't really answer that, or I don't do this. Because weirdly, our industry, no other industry has clawback. You know, yes, estate agency is very similar, but you know, they get massive fees on the back end at 1.5%, and I actually think we're more valuable than an estate agent is as brokers. But that's a whole different podcast in itself. But yeah, it's been amazing to see your journey over the past 12 months almost. I'm intrigued to see where you and Stephen now go and where that ends up and how the lifestyle looks, and the Lyons brand absolutely everywhere.
It's exciting. It probably hasn't come at the best time, thanks to the current crisis, but we're not going to give up. We're just going to carry on and plough through.
Yeah, we are in the midst of Corona, just to give people an idea at the time of recording, but we're not dwelling on it. We're staying positive. We're looking at the finish line and getting ourselves prepared for when we come bashing out the other side of it, ready to rock and roll.
Exactly.
So what would be taken away from the academy, because I don't want to kind of end on that sort of point, what would you say is one of the biggest things that you think, I know we said about the piece of advice for a broker or something along those kind of lines, but if anyone was sitting here now listening to this and thinking, you know, mortgage brokering's hard, or they're kind of stuck, or they perhaps got medicals, or they tell themselves, you know, I haven't got time, or I'm not going to do this. How would you position them? Because you said mindset's been a big thing for you. How would you what would you say to someone like that in the shoes that they're in?
Honestly, sit down, look at where you're at, where you want to be, and is sorting out what are your excuses and what can you actually do something about. Now, your excuses, if you're just using it as an excuse, then you've got to ask yourself whether you're in the right job and whether you want to carry on or not. So you need to iron out what are your excuses and get rid of them, and then work a plan forward. And I've done it literally by baby steps. So weekly goals to get me to the longer term end goal, and reviewing that every single day. Okay, so what have I ticked off today? How much closer am I now? Okay, something else has come and out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting. So reflect and readjust those goals if need be. But you've always got to make sure that where you want to be is actually where you actually want to be, or are you just doing it because you think that there's no other option?
Yeah, nice. Brilliant thought process. Yep. So just write down your excuses, understand them, call yourself out on them when you're making them, and then just take those daily goals and look at it daily. Everybody thinks about the finish line, but actually do it 1 meter at a time and you'll get to the end of the finish line. Better to be the tortoise than the hare in some respects for the way we're building, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think don't expect instant results.
Yeah.
Social media is not instant, is it? So if you are thinking that, okay, I'm going to post twice a day for the next 7 days and get lots of inquiries, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. You need to be doing that for a number of weeks.
Yeah.
And then, so be realistic about your goals too.
Yeah, nice. Well, Laura, thank you very much indeed for coming on the Mortgage Pro podcast and being a mentee and part of the academy and turning up to all the events that we've done and just being an absolute golden superstar and a shining light to us all in the way we should stand up and behave ourselves in many respects.
Thank you for having me.
But as you know, this is pro because perseverance leads to results, which creates opportunity. What do you think pro means to you? On the spot.
Showing up every day, being the best I can be every single day.
Nice. Thank you very much indeed, Laura. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.